Hello everyone, this is Jennifer from the Berrien History blog. I'm out here in the beautiful Rose Hill Cemetery. It's the Sunday night before Memorial Day. All the flags are on the graves, all the poppies are on the flags. And I'm doing a little video collaboration of some of the early American Legion post-85 commanders. And I'm going to start off with probably one of the most important ones here, and that's Dan Ira Porter, who served his country in World War I. You can see the rest of the stone says he was a chief mechanic. He helped start the Legion, and he was one of the first commanders. He was also the town historian. He was very instrumental in saving the courthouse, and it was called the Berrien County Historical Society back then, and it became the association later. But anyway, he died in 1971. Sadly, 5 years before I was born. I would have loved to meet him and talk to him. I would have loved hearing all the stories he had. But Dan Porter still has descendants who come down to the Legion. He was married to Marvel Shriver, who was actually a Helmick descendant. If you guys know anything about the Helmick family, I do a lot of extensive research on them as well. But Dan Porter was commander all the way back in 1919. He took over the term of Thomas LeCrone, who could not finish his term out because he moved to Berrien Center. And hopefully I'll be able to find him around here somewhere. I'm not quite sure where his grave is, but I want to talk about him too. Dan Porter also served from, in the 20s, he was commander in 1921, and again from 1926 to 1927. Another cool thing about Dan is he started the Spirit of 76 Fife and Drum Corps, which used to march in the parades, dressed up in Revolutionary garb, Civil War garb. Very, very cool thing that happened long before I was born, sadly. But anyway, so that's Dan Porter. He's out here with some other Porters right behind me, actually, more of his family. So, okay, I'll be back when I find the next early Legion commander. I found him. I knew he was in here. I've seen this stone I don't know how many times. It's a beautiful stone. I just didn't know exactly where it was. It's way back here by the lake. And this is the stone of Thomas Mars LeCrone. And there's this individual stone. And he was the very first commander of Post 85. And 1919, he was elected. And he couldn't finish out his term. He moved to Berrien Center. So Dan Ira Porter took over his term. He had a farm in Berrien Center. But he didn't stop being active. He was the second commander of the Eau Claire Legion, and he was adjutant for Benton Harbor's Post 105 when he died in 1945 at the age of 58. Now, if you go around the back of this stone, you see the name Mars. And that's where I went to school, Mars Elementary, named after the Mars family. Now, Thomas's mother, I don't think she's around here, but she was a Mars. Her name was Imogene Mars, and she was the daughter of Thomas Mars. The Mars is a big family around this area too. Obviously they had a school named after them, and there's a street named after them. Actually, the street came first and then the school, because it was on the street. That makes more sense. But There's another Thomas Lardner, or Thomas Lacrone Jr. You can see the dates there. So anyway, there you are, the first commander of the American Legion. American Legion's still going strong there, Thomas. You'd be proud. Thank you for starting us off. All right, I figured I'd stop by this grave. This is George A. Sparky Miller and Patricia. And I don't believe George was ever commander, at least not to my knowledge. But I did want to stop and pay tribute to George's father-in-law, Guy Heim, who was a druggist. He had Heim's drugstore, and he was also one of our early commanders at the Legion. The Heim drugstore took over from the Kephart drugstore, and then it later became the Chamberlain drugstore, and then it turned into the Shug's drugstore, which we all probably remember. So, Guy's daughter, Patricia, married George Sparky Miller, and the cool thing is they used to live in my house in the 50s. They raised a family there, so that's kind of interesting. And I figured I'd stop by and say hello. Thank you, Sparky. He served his country in World War II, and Guy served his country in World War I. Alright. Here's Nelson Lounsbury. Lounsbury. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. He was commander in 1929 of the American Legion Post 85, and he was also a charter member. He served 10 months overseas in World War I. His sister actually married another early Legion commander by the name of George Murphy, who hopefully I'll be able to find around here somewhere, and because I have some notes on him too. Nelson died of pulmonary tuberculosis, which he had for 25 years. They said he never fully recovered from the shell shock he suffered in the military. Sadly, he died in 1942 at the age of 46. All right, Nelson. Thank you for your service. All right, I know I'm doing early Legion commanders, which is like 100 years ago or more. But I happened by Don Kilgore's grave here, and he was a commander in recent history for 20 years. So there he is. We sure do miss him. He was a great guy. He worked for Red Hen Turf Farm. He was in the Army, Vietnam. Just an all-around great guy. He died way too young, and we really miss him. He's here next to, I think, James Franklin Kilgore was his brother. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure that's how they're related. And more Kilgores here. Donald J., which would have been his dad, I believe. And a little girl, probably a little sister. That didn't live very long, fortunately. So, Don used to have a topper shot, which was a Seagram 7 with a little peppermint schnapps on the top. And he stood straight across here. You can see the monument from here. And he led many a Memorial Day service right over there, where you can see the flagpoles at half-mast there. So, thank you, Don. Thank you for all you did for the American Legion. We couldn't have done anything without you over the last 20 years. So, Godspeed. Alright, here's the deal. It's getting dark. And unfortunately, I haven't found everybody I wanted to find. So I gotta make it to my car way over there. And I figured I'd just walk through here and maybe come across a couple people that I wanted to feature in this video. But there's no promises. But I do have to get on out of here because pretty soon the zombies come out. And then I won't be able to upload this video if they get me, you know. So I'll probably just have to wait for the next time to talk about George Murphy and the Kings, Allison King and John King, who they called Pinky. But so I'm gonna do more of these videos. I mean, this is just kind of a whim that I did this kind of last minute. So make sure. I'm just trying to check the flags as I walk back to my car because who knows? I might get lucky. Oh, hang on. Oh, I am so lucky. So Harold H. Jones. I got a card on him. Harold Hugh Jones was his name. Oh, this is so... Thank you, Harold. Actually, his nickname was Casey. Casey Jones, I love it. He's in a couple pictures at the Legion, too. He was in the U.S. Army in World War I, and he was commander of the American Legion, Post 85, in 1928, which means he was the first commander in the building that we still use today, our memorial home. He was one of 3 men who furnished teams to dig out the Legion basement in 1926, and it was finished in 1928. So Harold Hugh Jones, he retired out of Bendix, and you can see he was born in 1897 and he died in 1983. So he had a long life, which is awesome. So Harold Hugh Jones. I'm glad you made the video there, Casey. It looks like his wife was named Margaret. And really nice plot there with pretty flowers and the flag. So you got in just before dusk. Thank you, Casey Jones. I love it. All right. So I'm going to continue walking this general direction. I can kind of see my car. It's straight ahead. And I'm still looking for George Murphy and Allison and James King. So if I don't find them in this video, I will put them in the next video because there's a lot more Legion commanders and a lot of them are buried in the cemetery. So I'm going to turn the camera off, and I hope everybody has a nice Memorial Day. I'm going to check these flags. I'm going to go this way because there's more flags over here, and who knows, I might get lucky again. But if not, have a nice Memorial Day. I hope the weather holds out. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's beautiful out here now. But I do want to check because I know over here there's actually another one of our charter members. Oh, there's Greg. I miss him too. He was such a good guy. Heart of gold. Well, anyway, right around here is, of course, we all remember Dar Billy. And his dad, Morrison. Dude Dilly, they called him, or Maury. He was, I don't know that he was ever commander, but he was definitely involved a lot in the Legion. And he was one of those charter members. So he's way up by the building here, actually. And does not look like I'm going to encounter any other flags on my way to my car. So have a great Memorial Day, everybody. Stay safe, stay dry, if it doesn't rain. If you're not coming out to the graveyard tomorrow, come out sometime in the future, because this is the old section. It's absolutely full of history, full of stories. This is more of the old section, and it spans off to the new section. And I just love this cemetery. It's a beautiful cemetery. So I made it to my car before the zombies got me. Alright, I'll talk to everybody soon. Good night.